Good morning, dear ones. I hope you had a wonderful weekend and that you managed to recharge those batteries of yours. Today's a little bit of a grey day, but aren't we lucky to be alive and awake and in charge of our lives? Now, I hope you spent some of the weekend at least loving yourselves. And remember, loving yourself is not something that you only take time to do for those 10 minutes, but it is something that you do and needs to underlie everything and underpin everything that you are, because you deserve it. So, as I mentioned last week, we're going to go into understanding the chakras. And a lot of people might think that the chakras are some strange sort of entity that only certain people believe in. They are there whether you believe in them or not. They are energy centers. It is actually a Sanskrit word, chakra, which means wheel of light. Traditionally, there are 7 chakras inside the body and 5 chakras outside the body, but we're not going to worry about the 5 outside the body for now. We're going to just look at the 7 chakras within our body and how they move and how they influence. And as we develop them throughout the 7 years in each chakra, when we look at the traumas and abuses that we suffered through each one of them and understand where our stuff is. So this is actually part of the first universal law, the law of oneness. So traditionally, the 7 chakras inside the body are the energy centers of the etheric or the spirit body, which we all have. They appear as wheel-like vortices. So they're sort of round and they spin. Imagine the way that the bath water goes down the drain. Imagine how that spin is and look at it at each of the chakras. So they appear as wheel-like vortices of pure energy and are sometimes shown in depictions as lotuses. They spin at great speed and they lie along the spine, also known as the Hara line. Through them, a person's spirit and soul becomes receptive and communicates with cosmic energies. This is how we communicate with everything when we spoke about the law of oneness, and we understand how we, if anybody has watched the X-Men and you look at Professor Xavier and he puts on his Cerebro helmet and he looks at everybody, what does he see? He sees their spirit, he sees their consciousness, and this is pretty much exactly what that is. Even Carl Jung referred to them as the gateways of consciousness. Each chakra has its own purpose. It has its own association and its own connection. And balancing the chakras is not only beneficial to well-being, but also it is the only way of uniting the individual soul to the universal soul. And this is where the law of oneness comes in. So simply put, the universe's energy enters us through our chakras, which then connect to our nervous system, and our nervous system connects to our endocrine system. What's the endocrine system? That is the collection of glands that produce hormones that regulate metabolism, growth, and development, tissue function, sexual function, reproduction, sleep, and mood, among other things. And then the endocrine system then feeds into our blood. It therefore stands to reason that if we have blockages in our chakra system, so imagine your drain outlet after washing a particularly dirty load of dishes, and know how blocked up that particular drain would be, the energies are not going to flow very well and will in turn affect the endocrine system and will actually make us very ill. Remember, as above, so below. So if we look at the functions of the chakras, there are 3 main functions of chakras. Number 1, to vitalize each auric layer, the auric body, and thus the physical body. So it is vitality. This means that they are directly related to any pathology in the body. Okay, so this is where the energy comes from, the God spark. when people speak about the Holy Spirit that is in us, or our specific spirit, it is the vitality of the spirit that is in the chakras, that dwells in the chakras, and which vitalizes the body. Number 2, to bring about the development of different aspects of self-consciousness. Each chakra is related to a psychological function. I'm going to read that one again. To bring about the development of different aspects of self-consciousness. And this is why we look at the different chakras as we grow from conception to 7 years, for instance, will be our base chakra. And if we look at our self-consciousness, how conscious we are of ourselves, how that particular consciousness develops in that particular age group, and how that affects us as human beings, and how it affects us as we grow older, and what we learn, the traumas and abuses that we suffer during that time. And it can be brought back even to something like birth trauma. Number 3, to transmit energy between auric layers. So it's a transmission. We receive and we transmit. So if you think about it like a radio tower, the hara line that runs through us goes right up to source, God, whatever you would like to call it. And each auric layer, so each auric layer is associated with a chakra. So each layer of the aura has its own 7 major chakras located in the same place in the physical body. But we'll explain this at a later stage. So each of our senses is also associated with a chakra. Smell is associated with the first chakra. Now, if you think about it, when you are very young and very maybe from the age of conception to the age of 7, you're going to be able to smell your food. You're going to be able to smell your mother. This smell sense is probably one of our first basic senses to understand where we are. We smell things that don't smell good to us. Food, for instance, we very often will smell something to find out if it is off. So this is associated with survival. And we'll look into this and understand what the base chakra actually represents. Taste with the second chakra. This is from the age of 7 to 14. Sight with the third, how you see the world. Touch with the 4th. Hearing with the 5th, and all of the above, plus the 6th sense with the 6th chakra. Okay, so we're going to go into outlines of the different chakras. I'm going to go into each and every one of them in depth, in detail, not today, but we'll start with the first one tomorrow. And I've included this in our learning because we develop each chakra for this period of 7 years before moving on to the next one. And in this way, the chakras can be seen as a logical progression through life as we learn to deal with the outside world and its relationship with our inner world. As above, so below, the law of oneness. And what this means is that from conception to the age of 7 years, we develop our base or our root chakra. Should we have suffered traumas and abuses during this time which have not since been dealt with or released, the negative energy associated with these abuses will remain in those chakras as blockages to the energy flow and will manifest as illness. And we're going to go into each and every one of those from tomorrow onwards. Please bear in mind that because we are looking at our lives and as a holistic life coach, when we are looking at ourselves, we need to look at ourselves holistically. You cannot look at one aspect you cannot look at one facet of a diamond and say, yes, I've seen the whole thing. When you look at a diamond, you are looking at the various different lights refracted and reflected in the various different facets. So you're not just one side of something, you are various different sides, and they're all parts of yourself that need to be looked at when we look at healing ourselves and healing our lives. So when we are looking at the negative energy that's associated with the abuses that we have experienced in our lives and are now held in those chakras as blockages to the energy flow, they will manifest as illness. And we're going to go through that and have a look at some of the illnesses that you might find yourself experiencing. Some beings choose to manifest blockages in a base or root chakra as an eating disorder, for instance, and throughout their lives struggle with this disorder, not knowing that being in an incubator for a time could have caused feelings of abandonment and may very well have blocked the energy from flowing freely in the base or the root chakra. And once we're able to understand these blockages much better, we're able to clear them, release them, forgive the traumas and abuses, and then we'll be able to live a better and healthier life all round. So there we go, folks. There's a little bit of an overview on the chakras and how we're going to be starting this week. Happy Monday to you all. Remember, please, the 4 agreements and the 5 Reiki principles. I have posted them on this page as well. Happy Monday. Love and light to you all.